Talker, WTMA.
It's Charlie James on 1250 WTMA.
And good morning. It's 8:22, 22 minutes past 8 o'clock. Please welcome to the program Charleston Mayoral Candidate Maurice Washington. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Charlie. I'm doing very well.
It's a pleasure to have you on.
Day.
It is a great day. It's a pleasure to have you on the program. You were out late last night, another mayor's forum?
Yes, and alumni chapter meetings have to make your rounds.
Right.
So it's, crunch time, closing days, and we're just trying to stay busy.
12 days until Charleston goes to the polls to elect their new mayor, the first mayor that will not be named Joe Riley in 40 years. Right now, the conversation really seems to be between, at least the ones that are getting the most notoriety right now, between Jenny Deeren and Tecklenburg. I'm sorry, Leon Stavronakis.
Yeah.
How are you in the next 12 days going to separate yourself from the pack and get your name out there and try to cut through the clutter?
Yeah. Well, the two seem to be sparring right now, and we're going to remain above the fray.
Right.
Focus on our issues as we have from the very beginning, on infrastructure, on core services, on education.
Right.
Our message, the grassroots type campaign, phone bank, door-to-door activities. We're hitting the airwaves starting this evening.
Right.
2 30-second spots will be airing through the duration of the campaign. We're going to try to stay focused, stay positive, and keep the main thing, and that is our attention and focus will be on the citizens of Charleston.
All right. You mentioned infrastructure. Leon Stavronakis said you can't focus too much on infrastructure because that will take away from development. How do you feel about that statement?
Well, personally, I believe land use planning should drive development as opposed to development driving land use planning. I think the problem has been we've put too much focus on development, and we have overdeveloped certain areas, creating massive congestion problem. And whenever developers dictate the use of land, we have a serious problem. We can't construct or build our way out of these traffic congestion. We have to plan through smart growth, comprehensive land use planning, and partnership across governmental sectors.
Right. Now, a lot of people have said I don't know, I guess you want to say we've outkicked our coverage as far as development is concerned in relationship to infrastructure. And we've seen a lot of problems with the flooding that we have had. What are some of the plans that you have for the infrastructure for Charleston?
Well, first of all, we have to, again, manage overdevelopment and growth.
Right.
We can't continue to allow developers to develop in low-lying area. We can't allow developers to cap over wetlands and marshes and creeks. This is the low country. We have blessed by God, a wonderful geography here in our region. And wetlands is the first line of defense against stormwater flooding or tidal flooding.
Right.
So we have to preserve and protect those. I'm in favor of a 25-foot setback rule in terms of development. You cannot develop within 25 feet of wetlands and marshes and creeks. Minimize lowland development and put a moratorium on development that does not package infrastructure along with it. So those are the steps and measures that I would take to protect against future congestion and stormwater flooding or rainwater flooding.
All right, traffic congestion, a big problem here in the Low Country. We're seeing it right now. I think at couple of accidents today caused the trip in from Summerville to downtown to be about a little over an hour. What are your plans on alleviating some of that congestion here in Charleston?
Well, as a result of flooding, if I'm understanding you correctly. Well, I think we have to invest in our current infrastructure before we start developing or new structure. Maintenance is important going forward. We have a great stormwater system plan. Unfortunately, the plan is about 25 or plus years old. We have to revisit, update, and tweak, and address flooding according to current flooding patterns.
Right.
The stormwater fee is not nearly enough to cover the cost of. So based on future costs, current costs, we're going to have to do a better job of maintaining what we currently have. And that means keeping the ditches clean and clear of debris, fixing pipelines early and monitoring the process throughout the year. We have to hire great engineers and planners and infrastructure minds going forward. So my administration would pivot. We'll focus more on maintaining our existing structure and through smart planning, determining where future drainage projects should go first.
Is that the main problem in Charleston right now?
I think there's a drainage and traffic congestion.
Yeah.
I think they're not necessarily the number one problems, but they are right up there. I mean, we have overdevelopment issues, we have congestion issues, we have mobility issues, we have affordability issues. We have a number of issues, and depending on which group you're in conversation with, would be conveyed to you which of those, in their minds, are number one issues.
You said the other night in an interview that our best days are not behind us. What did you mean by that?
Well, Joe Rowley is considered an institution. He's done an amazing job for the city of Charleston. He came along when we really needed the kind of management that managed from the top down. The city was in decay, crime running rapid, economy in the tank, the whole gambit. And so he has done a remarkable job in turning things around, and he's about to leave office in the next couple months.
Right.
And I think it's important to remind our citizens that, although we're losing an incredible personality, a guy who has served this city very, very well, not for a moment or a second can we believe that our best accomplishments or achievements are behind us, but yet still ahead of us. And I strongly believe that.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to do the news, and then can you hang around for one more segment? That sounds good. All right, it's 8:30 right here at the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. We'll be right back with more of Maurice Washington running for mayor in Charleston, and 12 days.
12 days.
12 days until November the 3rd. So we'll be right back in just a few moments.
WTMA. Now, the TMA Morning Show continues with Charlie James.
And good morning. It's 8:40, 20 minutes until 9 o'clock on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA, WTMA.com. We got Charleston Mayoral Candidate Maurice Washington in with us this morning. Thanks for being with us 12 days before the election.
Pleasure to be here.
All right. We look at some projects in Charleston, like the Gill Yard, $148 million.
Right.
The proposed African-American Museum, we're talking about $75 million for that.
That's the announced projected cost.
And of course, we'll see overruns in that. All of these projects like this, how do you stand? I call them cosmetic projects because while they are pretty to look at, things like the aquarium and stuff like that, does it really benefit the folks that live here in Charleston? What are your stance on these cosmetic projects that we have?
I think when we can afford them, they're wonderful amenities to have. They help add character and entertainment to the city. But right now, Charlie, I believe the focus needs to be on core services, infrastructure. I certainly wouldn't use, for example, the mayor's office as a bully pulpit to raise $75 million to construct an African American history museum. I think it's a wonderful project,
right?
But the drive should be private funding only and not public funding. I think we have too many pressing issues like housing affordability, where we have a majority or approaching a majority of African American living in Peninsula City, Charleston, living in public housing rather than homes that they are purchasing. I think drainage in downtown Charleston, the infrastructure issues that we're having, economic development initiatives, quality schools. We have the worst worst six performing high school in the state of South Carolina, right here in Charleston County. Baptist Hill, St. John's, Burke, North Charleston, Garrett, and Lincoln. We can do better than that. So I think the focus needs to be going forward on core services, infrastructure, and tourist attractions should take a back seat.
Is it what you just said kind of struck a nerve with me, because while we try to put on this pretty face to the world here in Charleston, we've got some very serious issues lying beneath the makeup or the veneer of that face. Do you feel like they haven't been addressed for a long time? They would have to be
serious and expensive issues. Listen, putting in streets and stormwater systems and ensuring that the trees are trimmed the right way and ditches are maintained in the right way. These are not sexy projects, but I mean,
we don't see. Condé Nast Traveler has voted us the best sewage system in the world.
Absolutely, but municipal government is all about municipal services. That's what the taxpayers pay for, the core services, the services that ensure that livability and quality of life in neighborhoods where they live and raise a family are in fact livable. And so the core focus needs to return to municipal government, and my administration will do exactly that.
Let's talk a little bit about one of the issues that you brought up. We're speaking with Maurice Washington, Charleston mayoral candidate. Gentrification. We have seen the African American population on the peninsula and in the city of Charleston dwindle over I think it's down to 26% or something?
About 26, 27%.
And it was almost 70?
Back in 74, particularly early 70s, late 60s, we're looking at around 71%. So it's obviously there's been a rapid decline.
Right.
And I think a number of things can be pointed to.
Right.
But, gentrification doesn't only impact African Americans. It impacts mom and pop commercial businesses, locally grown mom and pop businesses, folks on fixed income, be they white or black.
Right.
But overdevelopment, overgrowth, unmanaged is one cause. Some of my running mates or colleagues running for mayor disagree with this, but I think the TIF districts are also accelerating gentrification as well. The tax increment finance district, designed to create economic development initiatives, but at the same time it raises property value, not just on residential property, but commercial property as well.
Certainly, yeah.
So it spreads. It removes millions of dollars over a 20 to 30 year period from the book or bank accounts of the school district. The $8 million shortfall the other day, one of the reasons given or cited, an underperforming TIF on King Street. So what do? Well, you invest in education, you invest in workforce development, you take a step back and analyze and assess the impact of TIFs. TIFs were started in the state of California back in 1954. They no longer use that as a means of encouraging economic development initiatives going forward because of the adverse impact of quality of life and gentrification and everything else.
Do you feel like the African American community has been underserved in Charleston since the 70s?
I think I think there has been a failure to provide the necessary resources in certain school districts, because I think education is the foundation.
Certainly, that's our future.
That's the future. And if you look at the 6 schools, the bottom worst performing 6 that I just touched on a few minutes ago, those are schools with 96, 97, 98% African American attendance rate. The poverty rate for those same schools on average is about 95, 96%.
Right.
When you look at the stats, African American kids academically are at the bottom of the pack.
Right.
Performance wise, job wise at the bottom, unemployment highest. Gentrification does in fact impact African Americans at a greater rate than say whites. So when you look at all of this as a whole, one can conclude that it does disproportionately, African Americans are disproportionately being impacted.
Right. I mean, you can certainly see that. I mean, you don't get a 50% decline over a few years without a certain segment of the population being impacted more than others.
Yeah, but going forward, and that's what we're all about, looking forward. What can we do? We are a diverse city, but diversity is simply a mix. We have to be more inclusive. Inclusiveness determines how do we get the mix to work well together. It's about creating the right conditions so that all citizens, everyone can achieve their greatest goals and aspiration. And I think our city is prime and ready to move forward in that direction.
You have been billed as the only conservative Republican in the race. How important do you think conservative values are to the mayor's office?
There's nothing Democratic or Republican about delivering quality basic services to neighborhoods. You don't. There aren't any. Well, okay, that's a Republican neighborhood there, so they get less attention. So it's a nonpartisan election. But I do believe when it comes down to the budgeting process and core services rather than more tourist attraction, I think good, solid, conservative value, there's a place for that. And I'm proud of my record there. I'm a good steward of the taxpayers' money. I've always been so. And I just believe core services are important and priorities are important. We can't continue to build these tourist attractions and these other amenities that loses money every single year, causing us to return time and time again to the pocketbook of the taxpayers. It has to stop. Let's put the money where they want it to be: core services, infrastructure, and the basic services. All
right, 12 days you got until you get to the polls. Maurice Washington, thank you for being on the program this morning.
Happy to be here, Charlie.
And we will talk to you very soon. It's 8:50, 10 minutes until 9 o'clock on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.